Good morning, friends. Here we are. So if you've just joined, maybe you just joined right on the top of the hour, or maybe you've been here for a few minutes. You know, as you know, if you sometimes come early, I tend to just sit here and chant for a while, kind of rather sort of quite quietly, maybe you've been chanting with me, maybe you listen, maybe you don't arrive until on the top of the hour, maybe you keep the volume down so as to avoid my kind of mumbling, rumbling chanting, or maybe you also just lend your voice a little to that invitation that's at the heart of chanting, you know, just to soften and open the whole of the central channel, to let the energy sort of sink down into the belly, and then from which you tend to both be able to have that sense of being kind of down, steady, deep, embodied. But then also as the central channel opens, it's energetically just kind of open up. It's like it enlivens the cells. I feel like chanting is a kind of, it's like a sort of a tonic for all the cells, a massage for the cells, a wake up for the cells somehow. And then sometimes, just like this morning, I feel like I could just carry on chanting, or just like move into sitting, and seems a shame to have to stop and speak a little bit, but there we are. So nice to see you all arriving, adding your greetings, and mentioning little weather report, some of you. So wherever you are and however you are, and whether it's sunny or grey or foggy or misty here, it's going to be a very beautiful sunny day, but for now it's rather misty. And I can see as the sun comes through the mist is sort of burning off and evaporating out of the window. Oh, that's nice, Ben, to know that Gerloff's with you in Toulouse. Nice. All right, friends. So, a little bit of Dharma reflection and some sitting together. Yesterday we began to look at this theme, right, of human nature and Buddha nature. And we looked at the way human nature tends to fixate on mind objects, which is all of our experience, really. The material objects that we see and touch, etc., and the immaterial objects, that which is imagined, conceived of, remembered, associated with, thought of, felt, etc. And then given that all of our experience is perceived as a mind object, then what is mind essence? The sort of the background, the sort of mysterious, fundamental background capacity of mind, in which all these mind objects arise and pass. This sort of essential, groundless ground, the rigpa, the primordial, the awakened awareness that makes all mind objects, that makes all experience possible. And in meditation, then, the way you can't really orientate to mind essence, because just everything that you know is mind object. And yet there's a way in which, as we settle, as we allow mind objects to come and go freely, that we can't say we actually directly perceive mind essence, but we actually start to recognize that mind essence is the sort of complete container of all the comings and goings of mind objects. So I thought, one could spend many hours, many days, many lifetimes just contemplating that. So I thought today I might speak in different terms, but sort of pointing to the same in the same way. Yesterday we spoke about the rupa dhatu and arupa dhatu, right? Formless and form objects, or material objects and immaterial, and then the nirodha dhatu or nibbana dhatu, mind essence, right? The unobjectifiable. And another terms Buddha uses for mind, which might be helpful. One is manas, the other is citta. So manas really means mind. And again, I asked you yesterday, and I might just ask you again, what do you mean by mind? For yourself, don't worry about some Buddhist explanation or my explanation. Just for yourself, just to contemplate. If you think of mind, if you try and focus on or apprehend your mind, what's your mind? So mostly what we think of as mind is mind activity, right? Manas, thinking, basically. Thinking, perceiving, associating. We might also include emotional experience. Often we tend to divide a sense of mind, mental experience, and heart, emotional experience. In the Buddhist tradition, mind and heart are seen really as part of one functioning, right? There's physical functioning, form, and then there's feelings and perceptions and associations and habits and mind states, and all that we could say is the functioning of manas. So manas is mind in terms of its functions, mind activity. And then there's another word actually the Buddha uses for mind, vijnana, which is just the fact that we're conscious, that part of every experience, there's not just the experience, there's the consciousness of it, right? Our very capacity to be conscious, right? So I can see my hand, but I can know that I'm seeing my hand. We have self-awareness, Homo sapiens sapiens, the one that knows that they know. So my dog can see and smell and touch and feel, but doesn't seem to be that he's self-aware. So there seems to be a more instinctual consciousness rather than a self-reflective consciousness. So vijnana is, I can know what's happening. I can move, and I know I'm moving. Not only can I move and know I'm moving, I can think about the fact that I'm moving. It's quite sophisticated. And we don't know, but we at least suppose that other creatures don't have that self-reflective tendency, or that most other creatures don't seem to have that self-reflective tendency. And then citta. So citta is another word Buddha uses for mind. But citta is like the field, the mind field. So when I talk about manas, you can easily recognize your mind activity, right? Thoughts, feelings, associations, memories, impressions, right? States. Feeling bored, feeling happy, feeling grumpy, feeling restless, etc. And you can recognize the vijnana. Oh yeah, you know you're here. If I say now, feel that you're here. Yeah, I can feel it. I know I'm here. Okay. What about citta? Can you sense the way your mind as a field of experience? Mind, the citta as the location of experience. So location's tricky, because if I say where, most fundamentally, where is your mind? Where's my mind? We tend to say it's in my head, which is understandable, because all our sense apparatus is stuck on here. So it's like, seems to be this is where it is. But this isn't where our mind is. This is where our brain is. Where's your mind? Right? Mind, the best description I've got, best way I can describe the location of mind, of the citta, this field of experience. Mind is here. It's here. It's It's here. Experience is here. Everything that happens to us happens here. So even the thought of yesterday happens here. The thought of something far away happens here. Right? Oh, I see you, oh, Kaz, you're in Wellington. Wellington's very far, other side of the world, New Zealand, right? But where does the thought of Kaz, where does the thought of Wellington, any memory I might have of Wellington, any image of Wellington, here. So we have the impression, right, with our manas, with our mind activity, that we go around, I go to a state called happy, and then I go to a state called sad, and then I go to a memory of Wellington, and then I go. But actually, when we established in the Citta field, we don't go anywhere. Here. So in many ways, practice is the way we wake up to all the manas, all the activity, and we recognize that it's happening here, in the Citta, and we learn to establish ourselves here where we are. To be awake right where we are, to borrow a title of a good book, awake where we are. Bodhicitta. Bodhicitta means bodhi, awakening, citta, mind. Bodhicitta is the mind of awakening. Right? How do we cultivate bodhicitta? By being awake, bodhi, in the citta sphere, here where we are. So there's many ways, really. I'm saying basically exactly the same thing as yesterday. Just borrowing some other terms, some other words, some other ways. The Buddha, did that very much, right? Trying to find different ways to say the same thing. Because what we're talking about is subtle, brilliant, transformative, liberating. And yet we're so wedded to our habits. We get so fixated by the manas, right? So caught up in mind objects that it's not easy for us to just see it, to drop our fascination and to see that, we don't need to fixate so much on mind objects. Mind objects can take care of themselves. Manas can be a free-flowing activity, free-flowing movement. Seeing, hearing, feeling, responding, acting. And instead of ego, me, driving along the manas, the mind activity, we settle into citta. The citta gets clarified. We realize that citta is luminous, spacious, trustworthy. And then the manas starts to become more directed by wisdom, by ease, by love, by clarity, rather than me, what I want. So friends, let's sit a little in meditation together. Let's practice the relief of relinquishing the manas, letting mind activity just happen by itself, and resting a little into bodhicitta, being awake where we are, grounded in the immediacy, right here. Only place we ever have been, only place we ever could be. So please take your seat for meditation. You gather your attention. You settle in to the feel of being here. You're settling into this field of manas. The mind activity and coming and going of ideas and images, sensory activity and the reaction to it. It's like you're settling into a field, Citta, field that might feel quite active, quite noisy, quite busy. And don't resist the busyness. Just let it buzz, let it fizz, let it pass. Let things settle by themselves. Amidst all the busyness of the mind activity, you'll find something very simple and steady, like breathing. Settling your attention into breathing. And breathing too is coming and going. Breathing is part of this field of activity. But it's non-conceptual. It's non-complicated. So please settle your attention gently, simply into the feel of breathing, into the field of experience, into being present, being here. Bodhicitta. Using the simplicity of breathing to settle your attention and to relax into being here, into being present. If you want to open beyond all the mind activity to a sense of the open field of awareness, the natural spaciousness and luminosity of bodhicitta. And that openness happens through ease, through relaxation. Relaxing one's fixations. Relaxing the way we contract our attention around thoughts and feelings and images and ideas and reactions. So whenever you notice your attention's fixated in some way, relax. Drop it. Let the out-breath dissolve your fixations. All the mind activity, all the impulses, all the stories, all the ideas and images and impressions and memories. They're all happening in this open field of awareness. In this vast theatre of experience. happening in the Citta sphere. And the Citta, the mind field, can be colored in various ways, colored by emotions, colored by grasping, colored by fear or resistance. And as we relinquish those things, the Citta can be recognized as fundamentally open, luminous, boundless, free. Relaxing into being more awake, more embodied, more present. Relaxing the tensions that you find showing up in your head or face or shoulders or arms or belly. Relaxing around the manas, the mind activity. Relaxing the sense of control. Relaxing the attempt to be the owner of experience. To be the one who's meditating. Just letting it all go. Letting it all go. Letting it all go. What is your mind? What is mind? Is it only this activity? Thinking, imagining, remembering, feeling, pursuing? Or is there this dimension of mind that's indefinable and yet vast, luminous, spacious? Like the screen at the cinema onto which all the impressions of manas are projected. Like the wide open sky across which all the weather patterns of manas, of mind activity pass. And where is your mind? Where is your mind? Is mind inner or outer? Or both, or neither? Does mind have any edges? Any center? Any up or down? Or is mind edgeless, boundless, locationless? And yet, right here, permeating everything. The mind of bodhicitta, awake right here, awake in this. relaxing into awareness, already awake, already here, already free. Maybe you'll be awake in the midst of mind activity. We all relax around the familiar contractions and compulsions of mind. May we know the wide open luminous ground, the vast freeness that is the nature, the heart, the ground of our own life, our own being, our own mindscape. Bodhicitta. The non-abiding mind that's here and awake. That's boundless and natural. That's effortless and loving. Just like this. All right. So, time for questions if you have any. I know some of this territory or way of describing mind can seem confusing sometimes or contradictory, or that we can just get busy trying to grasp it or understand it in a way that totally doesn't work. So hence, that's why I keep emphasizing relaxing into something that's already here rather than looking for something. Anyway, if there are questions that seem like they might be helpful to ask or explore, here's the opportunity. Please feel free. And maybe before that, I'll give a trailer for tomorrow. We've been sort of speaking about this mind essence and mind objects, mind field and mind activity today. So tomorrow we'll do something a little different, and we'll contrast what we might call emotional depth and emotional freedom. And maybe there'll be something surprising in there, because it seems to me that we might tend to overvalue emotional depth, or mistake emotional depth for emotional freedom. Anyway, that'll be tomorrow morning. So this is the teaser. Tomorrow on Human Nature, Buddha Nature, we'll be exploring emotional depth and emotional freedom. And then the other thing is just a very brief daily reminder of Dana and the warm invitation to offer support. We want to support you the best we can. We ask you, please support us the best you can. And so there's that sense of mutual support. We support you with creating the platform and inviting teachers, and supporting a community, having people manage the tech and the correspondence and the programming and the accounting and the design and everything else that goes into it. And then you support us, and you support each other, partly by showing up, by practicing, by showing all the kind of goodwill and sincerity that's so clear in the chat from you all and to you all. And also the support by offering Dana that this can continue. And it's very, very directly and only your Dana that allows all this to happen. So thank you in advance for any Dana that you are moved to offer and able to offer and do offer. Yeah, and there's the link George just pasted in. All right, let's go back up to the questions. So George posted a question from somebody saying, as a meditator who's become clairvoyant and now works as a professional psychic, how does Buddhism square the psychically experienced reality with practicing in the standard reality? So let's leave aside ideas of Buddhism for a moment, and we try to speak a bit more directly. I would say maybe it's helpful to leave aside ideas of different kinds of reality. One reality is more than enough. So rather than the idea that there are these two different realities that have to be squared, psychic reality, you might say, and then what did you say, standard reality or sensory reality, consensus reality, sometimes called, just reality. Reality. And reality is bigger than and way more dimensional than we usually take it to be. So for most of us, most of the time, our sense of reality is quite narrow, actually. Right? It's narrow. It's narrowed to what we can see, hear, touch, taste, etc., plus what we can think of, remember, imagine, and feel. And often all of that is further contracted by a sense of me in the middle of it all. That me is the biggest thing in reality, right? Because whatever else is happening, it's happening to me, and it's all about what I feel and what I want. So that's reality, but it's a contracted form. And then as we open up, we open up that contraction, like we were doing in the meditation today, right? Open to a wider sense of reality, a deeper sense of reality, a freer sense of reality, and a clearer sense of reality. And as that happens, certain sensitivities can happen. So for some people, a sort of what we could call a symbolic sensitivity opens, and we sort of start to understand things that aren't logical or linguistic, but no, you have a sensitivity to certain symbols, like this symbol behind me. It's just a classic Buddhist symbol, but there's something very powerful about that. And it might just look like a shape to us, but we might contemplate that and we find it sort of communicates something about the interwoven nature of reality, around how everything is fundamentally intimate with everything else, how the way in which everything is everything. And we might actually be able to really learn from and be sensitive to something symbolic. It's a small example. Or we might develop a sort of energetic sensitivity, where we feel like, we're able to actually feel what's going on in different places, right? Different places have different energy. Or we sense, we're able to kind of sense, spend time with trees. We feel like we kind of communicating in some way, or listening to, or understanding something about what it's like to be a tree, etc. Or energy with people. Right? To be able to be sensitive to what's going on in the energetic structure of somebody, ways in which they're defended or blocked, or kind of leak away. Things are leaking out energetically, etc. Or we might develop a psychic sensitivity, where we're sort of sensitive to things that we can't see, or to beings that we can't see. And we sense that, there's an access to the communication with, or the sensitivity to, wider spheres of life. Right? On that psychic sensitivity might also extend forward or backwards, seemingly forward or backward in time. We're actually able to kind of witness something in a direct way that in ordinary, like what way we might say has already gone. Or we may be able to somehow perceive in a rather direct way something that's forming in what we usually call future. So I would say those things don't need to be squared. Best is just be grounded in reality. And if reality opens up in any of those ways or other ways, let it open. Let your sense of reality be vast, and let it be informed by whatever you're directly sensitive to. You don't need to figure out a theory for it, right? But let it all be part of one reality. What's the one reality? Here, Citta, right? Just like we were exploring in the meditation. And yet Citta is vast, boundless, right? And therefore not bounded by our conventional understanding, not bounded by our usual sensory apparatus, not bounded by what we think or believe. And the more we recognize that to be true, the more our sense of reality can open and be inclusive of these other kinds of sensitivities. Yeah. So I would say most essentially, that's the way you square it, is by leaving aside notions of standard reality and psychic reality, and planes of reality, or different types of reality. No, this is reality. And yes, it's multidimensional. Yes, it's vast and boundless. Yes, it can contain sensitivities that are not ordinarily spoken about. But if you go to the text, or to various different contemplative and transformative and shamanic and meditative traditions, and you find, plenty of room for a lot of dimensionality to reality. All right. Amurai asks, is the Citta sphere not only vast, luminous, free, but also gentle, compassionate, etc.? Or are these just other mind states? Yeah. So I think we have to be careful when we ascribe qualities to bodhicitta, to sort of awakened awareness, let's say, because we tend to ascribe qualities in that we're used to as being personal qualities, right? So I try to usually speak in terms of qualities that don't feel so personal, right? And that we therefore less likely to take as being mine. So are boundless, vast. That's what we've been speaking about today. And that helps us to put down the personalizing. By its nature, bodhicitta has a quality of, it's inclusive. So it's inherently loving, right? Because it's like the willingness just to receive whatever arrives in it. Right? There's no rejection. There's no suspicion. There's no resistance. Just vast. So and boundless, therefore receptive, welcoming, allowing, right? But not in a personal sense. It's not a decision to allow. It's not a decision to be gentle. It's not a decision to be compassionate with. It's just like completely undefended. Like the undefended heart doesn't decide to be gentle. The undefended heart is like made of gentleness, made of compassion, made of care. So yes, love is an inherent quality. And in some ways, like if we're perceiving more from head center, we say what's awakened awareness is just sort of made of emptiness and clarity. If we're perceiving from the heart center, we say, oh, awakened awareness is made of love, compassion, kind of receptivity. And if we're perceiving more from the belly center, a sort of deep embodiment, we might say, oh, awakened awareness is made just of kind of presence, of suchness. So it's not actually that one can reduce bodhicitta to any of those different things, but we can perceive some of the different inherent qualities depending on sort of how we're orientating. Yeah. And we might get it tomorrow when we talk about emotional depth and emotional freeness. We'll get probably a little more into those more kind of heart center qualities. Yeah. Michael says, you used the phrase non-abiding mind. Would you please explain that? I'm a little reluctant. I think it's a very beautiful, sort of powerful way to describe. But if we get into defining it, it might reduce it a little, because it doesn't make so much sense, right? But a little like I said in the meditation, here, it's the most true thing we can say about mind and about reality is that it's here, it's here, it's here. But that here, to abide here, is as we settle into being here, we realize that to abide here is locationless, it's undefinable, it's boundless. And so we can simultaneously describe it as a kind of non-abiding, because we're not abiding anywhere. It's sometimes called the groundless ground, right? Abiding in non-abiding. It's a bit messy or complicated sounding, but there's a sense that we're not contracted around anything, right? We're not fixated on anything. We're not seduced by any particular reference point. So there's all these comings and goings, all these heres and theirs, all these thises and that's, right? All these perceptions and ideas and images and memories. There's a sense of past, there's a sense of future, there's a sense of inner, there's a sense of outer, there's a sense of here, there's a sense of there, sense of before, sense of after, sense of good, sense of bad. Okay, all good, let it all come and go. And yet, non-abiding. We're not ignoring or denying any of that, but we're not taking it too seriously or not taking it too solidly. And so that the sense of free abiding is a sense of non-abiding, or a sense of not being caught by any of those familiar reference points for reality, not caught by a sense of inner and outer. We can still discern the sense of inner and outer. We can still talk about today and tomorrow and yesterday, but fundamentally we're not abiding in the belief in time or in space or in boundaries or in self or in world. The freeness of non-abiding, freeness of not being caught in the manas, not caught in mind objects and in mind activity. Even though mind objects are appearing and disappearing and being responded to and related to and managed in whatever appropriate way. All right. Oof, we're not going to get through all the questions. Well, there's lots of questions and we're nearly at the end of time. Let's see. One more then. Louis asks, how can we experience love in Citta when love can only be experienced in relationship with another object? Right? So that's the usual sense, right? I love you, or I love that, or I feel like, oh, you're loving me. We usually feel that love is something we're either giving or offering or feeling in relationship to something or someone, or love is something that we're receiving and being given by another. Right? But that's the love of the manas. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Beautiful. That's what we could call, it sounds a bit clumsy, dualistic love. A love that's given or received, felt towards, right? And that needs an object. Can our love only be experienced in relationship with another object? It seems that way, but actually, as we relinquish our grip on objects, that relinquishment is is kind of deeply relieving. And it's like the heart is so relieved to be out of the grip of getting, having, giving, taking, receiving. And in that relaxing and that relief is that sense that the Citta sphere is permeated by love. Not the love for an object, but the love of being. Right? But it's like permeated by the love of recognizing that there's a fundamental freeness that is our very nature. And that the love of that freeness is kind of a permeating love, an objectless love. Right? Still capable, of course, of relating to objects, but it recognizes that fundamentally, maybe love isn't the feeling towards an object, right? But maybe love is fundamentally like the texture of consciousness. What if love is the texture of consciousness, the field of consciousness, the medium in which experience is happening? And then love can be the flavor of experience regardless of whether the object is liked or not liked, approved of or unapproved of, supportive of us or not supportive of us. If we need the object to be pleasant or to be supportive or to be nice for there to be love, that's a very fragile kind of love. But if we relinquish that need for the objects to be a certain way in order to love them or to be loved by them, then maybe love becomes the medium of experience, the texture of consciousness, the nature of the field of the Citta sphere. All right, good place to end. If your questions didn't get answered and they're still alive for you tomorrow, please feel free to just paste them back in tomorrow. Yeah. So we can explore a little more together then. So thank you for your practice and your presence. Maybe as you go forth into your day a little bit, just see if you can go forth without leaving the Citta sphere. Go forth recognizing that wherever you go, and whatever you do, whatever you engage with, that going and that doing and that engaging, maybe it can all just be happening here. Here in a way that on the one hand feels contained because it's right here. And on the other hand, can feel sort of boundless, spacious, edgeless. All right. Thank you. See you tomorrow.